Obviously, President Trump, the media doesn't know what to do. Obviously, he's very unorthodox. To me, the economic policies, although they could prove to cause another recession or worse, are not entirely surprising. They're not that much different. It's kind of like George W. Bush on steroids. What I'm most concerned about is the foreign policy area, which the Intercept does great work on. It seems that at the moment, Steve Bannon is possibly, Cheney ran Bush's mind. It seems like that's might be at foot here. From reports, it's not even clear if Trump during the Yemen raid was in the Situation Room. It seems like he's kind of has no interest in learning more, and we see reports that half his day is spent watching cable news, filling out executive orders like they're autographs. To you, on the foreign policy, whether it's surveillance, the torture, what's most concerning to you?
Well, so first of all, I think it's so important, not just as a matter of journalistic integrity or historical fact, but as a matter of political reality, to distinguish between what, on the one hand, is uniquely evil about Donald Trump or uniquely dangerous about Donald Trump, and on the other hand, what is just really kind of a replication or an outgrowth of the bipartisan framework that has been implanted for the last 15 years. So, for instance, he did this raid, this commando raid in Yemen that killed probably 30 people, at least 10 to 12 of whom were women and children, one of whom was the 8-year-old daughter of Anwar al-Awlaki. And there was all this, kind of denunciation from Democrats about killing civilians in Yemen. And yet, for the last 8 years, Obama has savaged Yemen. He's continually droned it. One of the first things he did was order a cluster bomb attack in southern Yemen that extinguished the lives of 35 women and children. He continually droned people in Yemen, including children. He killed not the 8-year-old sister of Anwar al-Awlaki, that was Trump who did that, but he did kill her 16-year-old brother, Abdul Rahman, in a drone strike that occurred 2 weeks after he killed his father, all of whom were American citizens. And on top of that, Obama drowned the Saudis in weapons and arms as they recklessly destroyed Yemen and killed untold numbers of Yemeni civilians. And yet, you had like Rachel Maddow on last week, practically, having a seizure of sadness over the Yemeni civilians killed by Trump. And I guarantee you in the last 8 years, she never once denounced Obama for the endless number of Yemenis that he killed. So there's this distorted media picture being created that is suggesting that things that are actually outgrowths of Obama policy or Bush-Obama war on terror abuses are, unique Trumpian aberrations that he pioneered. And I think it's important not to allow that to happen and for history to be whitewashed that way. I think it remains to be seen what he's going to do in foreign policy. I think there are differing ideological influences being exerted on him. I think people like General Mattis and General Kelly are probably more traditional, just Republican hawks who seem to be itching for a war with Iran. You could probably throw General Flynn in there too when it comes to Iran, although he's just kind of like a Dr. Strange-Levian sort of insane person who I think would probably risk some sort of nuclear war if he thought it could help kill some Muslims. And then you do have this kind of like Charles Lindberghian, America first, don't risk American lives and treasure to help other people strain of thinking that I think is embodied by Steve Bannon and even Trump himself. That might say, whereas Hillary Clinton would send in troops to help, Syrians, for example, and risk confrontation with Russia, Trump would say we shouldn't risk American lives in order to do regime change and help other people. Who ends up exerting the most influence on him, I think, remains to be seen. But one thing I do think we can say for sure that is extremely alarming is that they don't believe that when they do decide to deploy the military, they don't believe in the constraints of international law or even the Geneva Conventions. And I think you're going to see, obviously, there were horrible abuses under both Bush and Obama. I think you're going to see far worse abuses under Trump whenever he does deploy the military. The question is, how much will he deploy the military and toward what end? I don't think we know the answer to that. But as you said earlier, even if he doesn't seek out a war, given how kind of simultaneously inept and unstable and just belligerent they all are, I could easily see a war happening almost more easily as the result of miscalculation or unintentional escalation than by deliberately pursuing one. So it is a huge cause for concern. I just don't yet know, and I don't think anyone yet knows exactly how it'll play out.
Great. Thanks so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. Everybody, as always, The Intercept, you, Jeremy, Scahill, Lee Fong, are my go-tos. So thanks a lot.
Hey, I'm a huge fan of all the stuff you guys are doing as well, and so I'm always happy to talk to you.
Great. Have a good one, man.
All right, great. Good to talk to you.